Alright guys, I am back with another piece. This gold and white piece that I have right here. I made this piece right after the piece I made that I posted about last week. So the last video was the piece that's called Mystique. And I'd gotten both the canvases together from Michael's on a 50% off. Not Michael's, actually Hobby Lobby. So I got those both canvases. That's how I usually get my canvases, honestly. And I made this piece. So I don't have an intro and a midpoint part and all that as I did for my last video for this painting, but I'll basically walk you through what the process was, what was in my mind, and how I accomplished it, because this is a geode. It was a struggle, let me tell you. So basically I had some inspo online. Let me show you what I had in mind. So there's this Instagrammer who does art. Her name's Aga. This is her profile and this is basically her work, which I've been following for about, I think, 2 or 3 years when I started my resin work. And so I've been wanting to do a white and gold geode for a long time. I just didn't get around to it. So the general inspiration was one of her pieces, kind of like this piece that she'd posted on her Instagram, and this piece that I actually am doing a side piece on. And so I just wanted to, white and gold geode. I wanted to play around, but I also had these lines in mind. I'd seen these once or twice on Instagram, but also I'd played around with glue guns in the past to stick stones. I thought maybe this is a good idea. So it was a mix of like what I'd seen online and what I thought would be a good idea to put gold on, because the general idea of a geode is that people then sketch out lines with their gold marker, and that's how I've done it also for one of my pieces in the past. But they actually put like a stripe of gold glitter with resin mixed in it. So it's like after the first layer of their base layer, this layer right here, right? The one that's before the lines, the base layer. They put the second layer as those gold lines, which kind of serve the purpose of this, but then they kind of outline it with the gold marker. What I did was, because I tried that out in the past, it didn't turn out as well. I guess their glitter is different, I'm not sure what it is, but for me it didn't turn out as well. So I instead went with the glue gun. I was like, I was gonna try it out with one of my other canvases that I'm kind of playing around for a small geode styled piece. So I was like, let's just give it a shot. So how it really started was I drew out a general map of what direction this piece was gonna go in. So I knew that I wanted this bit right here, and I knew that this bit's gonna be here, I knew this bit's gonna be here, I knew that bit's gonna be there. I don't know if you can see the bottom, but you'll see in photos and videos. So I did an outline of that with a charcoal pen, and then once I did that, I just jumped right in with resin, honestly, because there isn't much of a base that I can do with a geode piece like this unless I get creative and kind of step out of the general geode styled piece. I knew I wanted to do white and gold, but my golds really don't turn out as well, and I really honestly didn't want this gold to be as brassy as it did turn out, but it's still not as terrible is what I'm gonna say. I want it to be a bit more like silvery-ish as this marker is, but you can't really tell because because after all the detailing it kind of hides behind these details, but it turned out pretty well. I mixed 2 or 3 pigments to come up with this color. Initially I tried just a basic gold and it came out, it did not come out well. It did not come out well. I wasn't happy with it. And then I went in with a different ink, gold ink, and dropped that in and kind of worked with it. Then once that initial layer dried out, right, I sat with this piece for at least 2 or 3 days. When I say I sat with it, I mean I have this piece, in a common walkway. It's right outside, like it's right by our entrance to the house, and you can also pass by it through the when you want to go upstairs, basically. So I had that piece over there, sit there, as I do all my pieces, and I kind of tried to figure out what to do with it and how it's gonna get better. And the general idea was that have a cover up with white resin, which is what I did. So this piece this bit that looks faded out, it's actually that white resin, which looks like a depth. It looks like this piece has depth to it when all I've done is just a second layer of white resin on top. And I didn't hide some of the golds. So some of them are hidden so they look like marbly. It looks like a marbly effect. What happened here was that when the piece was drying, because there was so much a weight of stones over here, all the resin kind of collected over here, and all the pigment the colored resin kind of got sucked down as well. So that's what happened, and it turned into a look of its own. I laid out the stones in the first layer. So it's the 2 stones that I mentioned in my old video. I get these stones off of Amazon, and it's called the Celestial Stones. They're for your fire pit. So you get those for a basic geode. It's a mix of the bigger stones and the smaller stones, and I had another third type of stones come from Michael's, and I use those over here. So these are the bigger stones and these are the smaller stones. I had those laid out. A part of the second layer was this gold right here. Like this, you see, if you see that, that's basically just gold ink with gold pigment mixed to get this kind of royalish gold that I wanted. So had that in a small cup and kind of drizzled down by the corners of, you know, the stone outline, and let it dry off. So that was my second layer, all done, good to go. Now what I'm left with are these pieces of stone that fell off while I was kind of like sprinkling or laying my stones down, because I'm a little messy. And one of the parts in the concepts of doing a geode is circling little stones here and there. That's something I've noticed artists do as well. So I just took a marker and circled them around to highlight them and kind of add personality to these stones, and not make it so that it doesn't look like it's messy, rather it's a part of the design and the whole look. And then this bit, if you see right there, that's actually a part of the glue gun that I did. So it's a glue gun circle, and it's just a circle. It's not filled with anything for the most part. I think so I've done 2 of these, so I think one of them has a stone in the middle, one of these tiny stones in the middle, and the other one does not. And I painted it gold. So that's pretty much it. So I had lines drawn over in the past that I mentioned, right, as the base layer. So I covered it up with the glue gun, and then once the glue gun dried off, I painted it with that gold marker. And that's pretty much how this piece, you know, came about. Lots of gold, and the general principle was to have as much white as I can so that these details of gold kind of stand out when they do. The only thing was, when I laid out this tiny accent of gold, it actually spread into a lot, so that was lesson learned. I've learned that lesson once in the past, but I tried it again and it still did the same thing. So covering it up with white resin helped a lot. That's the basic gist of how I, you know, put the piece together. The name of the piece is a white and gold geode. White and gold geode. That's pretty much it. It doesn't have a fancy name like Mystique. But this girl right here has a lot of personality, as you can't tell already. This was supposed to be for the kind of people that want to just get a painting and put it in the house as a statement piece while the rest of their furniture is plain, which is basically what we've done in our house. So the pieces and the art and the detailing kind of brings out the personality in the house. So it's people like those who want to have a bold statement piece. So yeah, that's the idea behind this piece. This one's gonna go to Stash Home as well, and let's see who buys it. All right guys, thanks for joining, and I'll see you in the next one.